Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Enterprise Fleet Summit today, put on by FreightWaves. I am here with Daniel Patterson, who is the Director of Safety at Western Express. Hi, Daniel. Thank you for coming on with me today.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So today, obviously, we're going to talk safety since you are, you know all about safety. So I want to ask you your ideas and stuff on how everything, where it's a constantly changing landscape in freight and trucking, but especially around safety, and how, fleets large and small, they can both make continuous improvements. I want to ask you a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll just jump right in. So, first, can you tell me what are some of the most significant safety challenges that you currently face with your fleet, and like how have these challenges evolved over the past few years?
Yeah, I think, one of the things is we have a very diverse fleet, right? So we have drivers. We've got one driver that's been with us since 1979 and won the International Driver Excellence Award, right? We've got a driver that just started today, just went through orientation. We're the first trucking company that has hired him that's going to train him. So, all ends of the spectrum. Also, we have everything from dedicated to over the road, and primarily we are a one way over the road trucking company. And so that's a tough position, especially as a driver, right? You're not going to the same customers, you're not going through the same routes. So it's very irregular route. You don't know the road. Like, you go to the same customers each week or each day, you know that route like the back of your hand. And that can lead to advances in safety just from the driver's aspect, right? Whereas our drivers putting themselves in a new place each day that they're unfamiliar with. And so they have to overcome that. And we have to help them do that as well. As far as like biggest advances, I think technology, especially recent technology in the last 5 years, has been the biggest thing that's really helped us do that.
What specific, so how are you able to leverage technology and data analytics to, you know, better safety for the industry?
Yeah, so it starts with we have a very new fleet. So our average age of fleet right now is under 2 years old. And with that, we're able to get the newest technology as far as safety technology that comes from the OEM. I think that's been a big advantage for us. But also, we do some aftermarket things that help us as well. Some of the big things aftermarket wise that we've moved into is an adaptive speed program where basically it's a governor for the truck no matter what speed limit they're in, and you can set geo fences based on that. We also use notifications that are based on geofence. And then we have an AI camera model that we can get that data from. But, having all that information is great, but you also have to be able to do something with it. And so every company does that differently, right? There's a ton of providers that will set up portals and collect that data for you. What we did is we have a pretty robust IT team that was able to put that data into one place that we can, get that information and then act on it.
Are there any specific types of tech? You don't have to name like brand names, but is there any specific types of technology that you really focus on?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that, and again, this is kind of what we do differently. I think um, because a ton of companies have collision mitigation, right? What we do differently is that adaptive speed technology. So we have more trucks than any other company installed with that technology. We have, it's on every one of our trucks. So if they're at a customer's yard, we can geofence that customer to the customer yard speed limit, right? So reducing maybe incidents where the driver might be going a little too fast on the yard. We can also set up locations like think about an S curve or something like that, where we can set up a notification that says, slow down, rollover risk ahead. And then we can also impact the speed leading up to that curve to slow the driver down before they get there, right? So that's one of the ways we've really leaned into that technology. We also set up geofences. We deliver thousands and thousands of loads into New York City. So if you make a wrong turn in New York City, you're going to end up in a low bridge area. So we've set up geofences in all those locations where when the driver does, if they make a wrong turn, they get a pop-up notification, a verbal notification that tells them, stop, you're approaching a low bridge, contact Western Express. And we also immobilize the throttle. In addition to that, we're able to go in and we set that out in advance, right? So giving them some time so that, hey, we can make a turn and get back on route without them being like 2 feet from the bridge, right? So setting it up in advance so that way we're able to react with them, help them get back on route, and prevent the accident.
That's wild. That's so yeah, it's crazy how far technology has come, even with data, with stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What training and continuous education programs do you have in place for your drivers? And how do you make sure that these programs adapt to new safety regulations and standards and new technology, like stuff like that?
Yeah, so we have, regardless of how a driver comes in, we'll just start the orientation phase, right? So each driver goes through the same orientation, and then after orientation, we tailor that training to whatever their prior experience was, right? The driver that's been to different companies before and has some experience as an over the road driver is a much different driver that graduated truck driving school and were his first company, right? So we tailor that program for them, and then with our trainers that go out one on one with those drivers, they have a rubric system that they fill out each day with that trainee. They also do a road test each week with that trainee, and we have training managers that basically monitor that progress of the trainee through the program, making sure that they're touching on different items and making sure that, hey, if we're struggling maybe in backing, then hey, trainer, tomorrow I want you to do 30 minutes of backing. I want you to make sure that, dedicated, that's all you're doing, right? Just backing. And I want to document that and tell me how the trainee does. Tell me what he can do, maybe a little bit better or change about that backing practice, right? So, it's getting into that fine detail and making sure that the training isn't a one size fits all, that it's more tailor made. And then as far as continuous training, so AI cameras is something that's we started installing. We've always had cameras. I shouldn't say always. We've had cameras um, really since I started coming in this position. That's when cameras inside trucks really started taking off, right? And that was 2017, 2018. And so we've had cameras in the trucks then, but you had to review the video, you had to say what happened, and then you had to use that data afterward, right? So we installed AI cameras starting in January. And what we did with that is, it kind of skips that middleman where it's auto classifying. We can review the data and then do training based on that.
So I wanted to ask about anecdotes. If you have any anecdotes in the industry of how some of these tools and tricks of the trade have really made a difference in safety. If there was something where, a heartfelt good story.
Yeah, I mean, heartfelt good story. I think so. Dwayne Dorn started driving for us again in 1979, right? And Dwayne's feedback, I think, when you have a driver that's been in this industry this long, right, and has a great safety record, they can either embrace that technology or they can say, "Hey, I've done this. I know exactly what I'm doing." So I think number one, the way that he's able to embrace that and talk about how it's helped him from a coaching standpoint, because they get feedback on performance, right? I think that's one thing, is talking to those drivers who are tenured with us and really talking to them about, hey, how has this updated your driving habits? How do you take the information and change what you do? I think that's one really big part of kind of a win for us, right? And then honestly, Dwayne being selected as the International Driver Excellence Award winner by CVSA, I think that has been my probably proudest moment, especially for a driver. Like, that's such a big honor for him and for Western Express to have him in our fleet.
That's awesome. Oh, I love stories like that. And it's nice that individuals who really care and are really, put this stuff in focus in their careers. I think it's very important that they get recognized. So I love hearing stuff like that. But well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for coming on and talking safety and enterprise fleets with me.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Awesome.